Welcome to LogicHeap friends. This is Python advanced training and we are going to learn inheritance today. We have already seen classes and objects in our previous video. So in inheritance, what is inheritance? Inheritance is having something from your ancestors, right? So using the same analogy, here we have inheritance in Python as we have in any other language. This is just deriving your new class, your derived class from the existing class. And why we need to do this? Just for the sake of reusability, because we do not need to write the same things which we have already defined. When you define a class, if you want to inherit properties and methods from some other class, we are calling it the base class, then you just need to mention the name in brackets. So here, as you can see, base class. So here you need to mention the name of the base class and then the class block. It's just that simple. So in the previous video, we have already created a class student. It has two functions in it which will initialize the object. So if we pass name and roll number when we are going to create an object, it will initialize name and roll number for that object. So, and the second function is print function, which will simply print the name and roll number. So here we have created two objects. You can see in line number 11 and 12. So here I have created this Amy object, and here we have Sheldon object. Both have their name and roll number. And after that, in line number 13 and 14, we have printed their values. So for Amy, when we use amy.print function, if you can see in the right hand side, you'll see a name and roll number for Amy, and then secondly we have name and roll number for Sheldon. So this was our class. We have already discussed it. Now we'll use inheritance here. How? Let's see this example that I have created. Now here, if you see, I have written a CS student class. So now suppose you want to have different properties and methods for CS student. But you know that after all, a CS student, a computer science student is also a student, right? So a CS student will also have name and roll number. So it means we can use a student class for defining a CS student class. So how we can do that? If you see line number 16, here I have written class CS student, and after that in bracket I have written student. What does that mean? That CS student is getting derived from student class, which we have already defined, right? I have not written much in the class block, that we'll see in the next example, but how we do inheritance, that is clear from this example. Now once I have written this, I can create object of CS student. So in line number 20, if you see, I have created object of Amy. So Amy is a CS student. So she'll also have a roll number and name. Same for Sheldon. So instead of student, I have used CS student. So it will create objects of CS student. Now you'll see that there is no init function or print function defined in CS student. So what it actually does is it inherits everything from student class. So if it doesn't find anything in CS student particularly, it will look in the student class. That's why when we create object of Amy and Sheldon, it uses the init method from student class, and same for Sheldon. After that, it is using the printfun function of student class. So amy.printfun will print name and roll number of her, and Sheldon similarly for Sheldon. Okay, so there's one more thing if you want to know more about it, that how function got called. Now here, if you see, I have name and roll number for Amy, then name and roll number for Sheldon. After that, in the last line, when I have called this print help CS student. So in the help function, you can pass any class name. It will show me how what is the method resolution order for that? So for CS student, we have inherited init function and printfun function from student class, which is very much clear from here. It will give you some more details. You can see the output here. See, right? Now let's take this example of student and CS student seriously, and let's do the inheritance. And imagine, along with name and roll number, you also want to have favorite language of that student, right? So for CS student, you need favorite language also. So here we'll define our own init method and our own display favorite function. So if you see in line number 16, we are defining CS student class, which is inheriting student class. And in line number 17, 18, 19, I am simply defining my init method. How is it working? It will take name, roll number and favorite language. So you know name and roll number. For name and roll number, I have already a init method in student class, right? Here is this method. So why to initialize name and roll number again when we already have written code for it? So in that case, for name and roll number, we use the init method of this student class, and for favorite language, we'll write self.favoriteLanguage assigns favorite language. Here, how we'll call the init method of student class? We'll use this super function. Using this, we'll call the init method of student class super.init, and we'll pass name and roll number to it. Next, we'll simply write self.favoriteLanguage assigns the favorite language which is passed to it. So this is how the init method is working. For some part, we are using the init method of its superclass, and for rest of the things, we are just writing the code. Next, I have defined display favorite function, which is simply displaying me the favorite language of that person. So if you can see in line number 24, I have created an object of Amy, then of Sheldon, and in line number 26, I am writing Amy.print function. So what it will do, it will go to the CS student since the object is of CS student. So for Amy, it will look in CS student class and it will not find the print function. Then what it will do? It will simply look at the parent class, at the base class, and here it will find the print function and it will simply print the name and roll number of Amy. Similarly for Sheldon. So in the first two results, you are seeing name and roll number. So the output starts from here, I guess. Yes, this is the output when I am running it, and after that you are writing Amy.displayFavorite. So Amy.displayFavorite, in this case the display favorite function mentioned in CS student class, we are calling it, and it will simply print the favorite language of Amy, which is Python. So favorite language of Amy is Python gets printed. Two important functions that you should know of are these are like is subclass and is instance. So how we'll use it, let's see. Now here CS student we know is a subclass of student class. We need to check it that whether it's true or not. So how we'll do it, we'll write is, see there are options, that's the perk of using the editor, is subclass, and we'll pass CS student comma student, and we'll check if CS student is the subclass of student, it will return me true, else false. So let's try doing that. Oh, I haven't printed it. Let me just print it. Print. And let's see the output now. See, here we got the output as true. Also for so again, if in case CS student is not the subclass of student, will print false, true and false. It returns the boolean values. And the next function is instance. So print is instance, and we'll pass by this method, by this function, we actually check that the object that I am passing, is it the instance of the class that I am passing. So here Amy, I'll pass Amy and I'll pass CS student. So Amy of course is the object of CS student class, so it will return me true. See, here the second row is corresponding to the last print that I have put here. So yes, Amy is the instance of CS student. Acha, let me check that if is it the instance of student class. So again true. Basically CS student got inherited from student class, so Amy is also the instance of student class. So we have seen these important functions. After this, the next topic is overriding methods. What is overriding basically? So the method which has already been defined in the parent class, in the base class, and now you want to define the function, the method with the same name in the derived class, in the subclass also. This is called overriding. But why would you need to define the function, the method, by the same name? Let's see what's the reason of it. See, again I am taking the same example of student and CS student. So in student class we already have the print fun method, which is simply printing the name and roll number for the object. Now suppose we want to know the favorite language also, that's why we created CS student class. Now why to have print fun and some other name in CS student when we want to do the same thing from this function also, right? So what I have done here is in CS student I have again defined a print fun function, a method which is doing the same thing which the print fun was doing in student class, just the difference is it is doing something more into it. So print fun was basically printing all the information for that object. Now it is also doing the same thing, but now the information has changed. Now we have name, roll number and favorite language. So the work is same, just some extra functionality has been added, some extra properties have been added, and we want to show something more using that function. So we are defining it again, print fun, and here name, roll number and favorite language also gets printed. So but do you think that it will confuse Python that should we call the print fun function of CS student or print fun function of student? Let's see how it resolves it. Here what I am doing is I am calling amy.printFun function. In that case it will check that it is an object of what? CS student class. Amy is the object of CS student class, so it will look into the class of CS student and it will find print fun defined over here. It will simply use this print fun method and you will see all the information for this CS student. Let's see, let's run it. So till here you are getting it from the 13th and 14th line number, and from here name amy.printFun, it is printing me name, roll number and favorite language of Amy, right? Similarly we have called sheldon.printFun function here. So now you can see that it is using the print fun of CS student class. If you would have made object of student class, it would be using the print fun of student class. I hope it is clear that what is overriding and how we can do it and how Python resolves it. Multiple inheritance. What is it? Creating a subclass which is inheriting properties from more than one base class is called multiple inheritance. So inheriting everything from more than one base class is multiple inheritance. And how we do it? Let's take an example. See, we know very well that a child takes inherits everything from father as well as mother. So if father has interest in exercising and driving, and if mother has interest in teaching and cooking, automatically this comes in child. And child can also have his or her own properties also, own methods also. So let's see. What I am doing here is I have created a class father. I have defined two methods in it, exercise and drive. I have created a class mother. Again, she has two methods, so teaching and cooking. Now for child, so since he or she likes eating chocolates, so here's the method. Now, how we are doing inheritance in child class? See closely in line number 13. I have written class child, and I have written here name of two base classes, father and mother, since child is inheriting properties from both father and mother. This is the example of multiple inheritance. So here when I write Amy is the mother, so I have initialized it, and then I have Sheldon as the father. Now I have Amy and Sheldon. Let's say the child is Shemi. In the line number 13, I have initialized Shemi. Now, if I write Shemi dot eat chocolate, so it will print I love to eat chocolate. Shemi. So now Shemi has all the properties. Shemi can exercise, Shemi can drive, can teach, can cook, because it is inheriting the properties and methods from father as well as mother. So Shemi dot eat chocolate, Shemi dot cook, Shemi dot teach. And in the right side you can see the output, I love to eat chocolate, I love to cook, I love to teach. So this was the example of multiple inheritance. If you really like a video, you can subscribe us on our YouTube channel. You can also give us a thumbs up on our FB page, and please keep sharing. The links of our FB page and our FB group for more discussion is available in the description box.